Hey, Crossridge, I hope you are enjoying our online Advent guide. Each Friday during this season, I'm going to be sharing a short reflection on one of the Psalms related to our theme for the week. This week, we've been focusing our attention on the theme of hope. And today I want to direct you to Psalm 121. It is a great psalm. It's a familiar psalm for many of us. Let me read it for you. I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. He will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Well, two words come to mind as I think about that psalm, and those two words are protection and direction. So let's start with the idea of direction, or that theme of direction. The first two verses of Psalm 121 function as a catechism of sorts. It says, I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come? It's asking a question. And then verse 2 gives the answer. My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. It's not entirely clear when the psalmist says, I lift my eyes up to the hills, what he is referring to. Now, Psalm 121 is a psalm of ascent, and most think that these were the psalms or the songs that they would sing as they made their pilgrimage towards Jerusalem and to the temple. That may in fact be the case, and it might be what the psalmist is doing is he's anticipating, as he's making this journey, he's anticipating what it will be like to be in the Lord's presence. But it could also be that as he's looking to the hills, he knows that there are dangers that maybe lurk on the other side of the hills, or maybe he's looking at those hills with the recognition that many of the pagan religions worshipped on the high places and on the hills. And what the psalmist is doing, regardless of which of those things might be right, what the psalmist is doing is really saying, my help does not come from the hills. My help comes from the Lord. He's the one I look to. And so that's this idea of direction. Where do we look for help? And maybe that's an especially important question in troubling times like these. What is our hope in? Is it in something eternal, or is it in something temporary? The second word is this word protection. What does it mean to say that we have protection? And if you'll notice, I want to encourage you to go back and read the psalm and just pay attention to how many times we read about or hear about the Lord's protection. 6 times in the last 6 verses of this psalm, it tells us that the Lord is our keeper, or that he keeps us. God is our protector. He is our shield. He is our keeper. He's the one that hangs on to us. And when it says that, he's not encouraging recklessness. I mean, the psalmist says, he will not let your foot move. He who watches over you will not slumber. Now, that's not encouraging recklessness on our part. You might remember Satan's temptation of Jesus, where he quoted from a different psalm, but said, if you're the Son of God, throw yourself off of these cliffs. And the psalmist promised that you'll be protected. And Jesus, of course, really says that's not how that psalm is to be understood. That's not what it's saying. We're not encouraged to be reckless and to presume upon the grace of God. But what the psalm is encouraging is confidence, that our confidence ought to be placed in the Lord. And maybe what we ought to notice above all from this idea of God being our keeper, or the one who keeps us, is that as much as we need to cling to and we need to hold on to God, the reality is that our confidence comes from the fact not that we hang on to God, but that he hangs on to us, that he is the one who keeps us. And so that is a picture of hope. God's grip on us is much stronger than our grip on him will ever be. One of the questions that I think would be asked in reading this psalm would be something like this from verse 7. It says there, the Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. And it might be a fair question to ask, does that promise too much? When it says he'll keep us from all evil, does that mean that no evil will ever befall us. Is that what the psalm is promising? Well, I think we ought to understand that psalm in light of the way even the New Testament speaks to those sorts of things. And I can't verify exactly that Paul was doing his devotions out of Psalm 121 when he said this, or that he had it exactly in mind. But there's an interesting passage near the end of the book of 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 16 to 18 say this: "At my first defense, no one came to stand by me, but all deserted me. May it not be charged against them." And then he says, "But the Lord stood by me and strengthened me, so that through me the message might be fully proclaimed, and all the Gentiles might hear it. So I was rescued from the lion's mouth." The Lord will rescue me from every evil deed, very similar to what it says in Psalm 121, and bring me safely into his heavenly kingdom. To him be the glory forever and ever. Amen. The Lord will keep us. He will rescue us from every evil deed and bring us safely into his heavenly kingdom. Let's put our hope and our confidence and our trust in that.